Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulihil Nabiyyil Kareem. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to our continuing follow-ups. Bi'idhnillah, today we start with Surah 100, Surah al Adiyat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. As you can see, the same mix-up from Surah Zilzalah, Surah 99. We find the same mix-up here. Rahman and Rahim have been mixed up. That is a slight mistake in a typo. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mercy on all those people who are working in the Quranic sector to teach people. And if this is a small mistake, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all those who worked on this. Let's start with verse number 1. Again, we're focusing on letters and places of pronunciation. Today we'll introduce a small rule of temperament. وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا ضبحا ضبحا والعاديات ضبحا ضبحا ضاد, third part of the tongue, ضبحا, bouncing the ba, ha. Now, the rule of temperament that I'd like to introduce here, it comes up in the first 5 verses. If you end on any letter that has 2 lines on top, if you end on it, remove 1 line. ضبحًا becomes ضبحًا. Let's show you another example. Verse number 2. فالموريات قدحًا قد. So فالموريات قدحًا. Qaf is heavy, dal is light. قد it's going to bounce. قدحًا. And in the same scenario that we learned this rule of temperament, rule of stopping. قدحا قدحا فالمغيرات فالمغيرات فالمغي. Ghain with a line on the bottom. It's a heavy letter with a line on the bottom. We know it needs a little bit more attention. The sound comes from the sides. فالمغيرات صبحا صب صب صاد, second part of the tongue, we're going to press its heavy letter. صب, bounce the ba. صبحا فالمغيرات صبحا. Verse number 4. فأثرن به نقعا. Now we have ثرنا ثرنا ثرا. In this case is going to be heavy or light. I'm asking you because I'm sure you know. فأثرن به نقعا. It's going to be heavy. Line on the top, ra sukun. ثرنا فأثرن به نقعا. نقع, noon light, qaf heavy, it's going to bounce. نقعا. You have almost all of the bouncing letters practiced here. We have ba, dal, ba, and here we have qaf. What are the 2 that are missing? Jim and ta. نقعا نق نق, light heavy. نقعا فوا, fa is light, wow is light, sin. فوسا فوسط سطن به جمعا. Do not bounce the meme, please. جمعا فوسطن به جمعا. Here you are going to stretch the ha, kasra, he, for 2. Bihi, you see the little baby ya here. فوسطن به جمعا فوسطن به جمعا. Verse number 6, the tone of the surah changes. This is the style changes. So we have noon shadda, full nasal sound. Verse number 6, this is the 3rd rule of rhythm. إن الإنسان Now we have the second rule of rhythm, which is tongue not touch, nun sukun, followed by a sin. Insana li rabbihi lakanud. Lakanud. It's going to bounce at the end. Listen to lakanud. Lakanud. So one, you want this to bounce because when you end on any of the bouncing letters, you are going to place a sukun on top of them. When you end on any letter in general, you place a sukun on top of it. Except the new rule we learned today. When we end on two lines on top, we always just remove one and pronounce it jam'a. Let's try verse number 6. Innal insana li rabbihi lakanud. 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 Now let's try verse number 7. Nun shadda, full nasal sound with the W. وَإِنَّهُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ ذَلِكَ make it wet. وَإِنَّهُ على bite the apple. على ذَلِكَ لَشَهِيد. And it's going to bounce at the end. لَشَهِيد. وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَشَدِيد. Full nasal sound. وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ. What rule is going on here? Fatha, zabar, line on the top, followed by ya sukun. So we're going to do the Canadian rule. Khayri, enunciate the A. Khayri, la shadid. Bounce the sound. La shadid. La shadid. Verse number 9. Afala, a, first part of the throat, a, fa, letters of the lips. أفلا يعلم إذا بعثر. It is going from the lips to the second part of the throat. Make sure that puckers. بعثر. بعثر ما في not fil في القبور. What do we do in this scenario? If we have a moment, let's go ahead and take a look at it. What do you do in this scenario here? When you end on the ra, it gets a sukun. So there's your sukun. So ra has sukun and we remove the kasra. When you go to the letter before it, waw has sukun. So where do you go? The letter before that. So is it qubur? No. Qubur. The ra is heavy. Qubur. أفلا يعلم إذا بعثر ما في القبور. Now I want you to remember this thira. A lot of times people make the thira. You make the ra light. It's not light. It has a line on top. It's heavy. Excellent. Verse number 10. Wahu. Sad shadda. وحصل ما في الصدور. Let's take a look at it again. وحصل, صاد is heavy. وحصل ما في الصدور. Dur. Ra again. You end on the sukun. It has sukun when you end. Now that you're ending, what are you going to do? You look at the letter before it. That's a big, massive sukun. The letter before it, wow, doesn't have anything to talk to me. The Dhamma, the Pesh, is going to affect the Ra. Sudur. Don't say Dur. Sudur. So the Ra in this case is heavy. If you have a little bit of any trouble, please look back at your notes. The slide right before the golden rule explains exactly what to do here. So verse number 10. وَحُصِّلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ في الصُّدُورِ dur. The Ra at the end is going to be heavy. Verse number 11 reads, Nun Shadda, we're going to make that full nasal sound. And that sound, what is that sound? That is the sound of the vibrating nasal cavity. Inna rabbahum bihim. What is this? What's going on here? Mim sukoon followed by ba. Mim sukoon followed by ba. I've done this a couple of times. Mim sukoon followed by ba. Rule number 4 of rhythm. Inna rabbahum bihim. The meme sound of rabbahum, hum, is going to vibrate between my lips. There are 2 different ways to do this. Either let your lips touch, rabbahum bihim, bihim, or you pull them apart just slightly. Rabbahum bihim. Now it's up to you. You can ask your instructor, ask your teacher what they prefer. In the Middle East, it is specifically, it's pulled apart sometimes. And in the subcontinent, it is touched together. رَبَّهُمْ بِهِمْ إِنَّ رَبَّهُمْ بِهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَخَبِيرٌ. Here's the question. يَوْمَ. What's the difference between yawma, and yawma'idhin? Double accent followed by lam shadda. This is around the world. Yawma'idhin. Double accent followed by lam shadda. And now we're going to yawma'idhin la. La, kha is heavy. La khabir. Now here's the question. Ra, when I end on it, when I choose, and I'm going to end on it here, it gets sukoon. So there's a connect here. You go to the letter before it, that's a ya, that doesn't have anything on it. The ba has a line on the bottom. Heavy or light Ra? I ask you the question. I'm sure you realize by now. It is a light Ra. Khabir. You hear the little light Ra at the end? La khabir. Excellent. So you've seen many things in the surah. You've seen the second rule of temperament. You've seen quite a bit of heavy light transition. You've seen bu'thira. You've seen fi sudur. You've also seen kasra, line on the bottom. It's not bihim, it's bihim. I'd like you to realize that. And we have discussed together 2 different scenarios of Ra. And that's when you end on it, what do you do when it has sukoon and the letter before it has a connect? What do? You just go to the letter before that. Look at the slide right before the golden rule of Ra. Bi'idhnillah, we'll be speaking to each other soon. Jazakallah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.